Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back for another Real Housewives of Atlanta review. Let me start off by saying that I don't quite understand what the producers are doing, but we are really missing some vital footage from these ladies' lives. I follow Candy on IG. And when I say that Candy was living her best life this weekend in Atlanta at the Beyonce concert, she was living her best life. This woman reserved a skybox with a bunch of her friends, and it seemed like it was on her because all you kept hearing was thank you, Candy, thank you, Candy, thank you, Candy. And yet we're not getting any of this in this season. Even her mentioning later on down in the show how that retreat, she didn't realize that she needed it and she needed the release based off of everything that she had been currently going through with her group, who also was on Bravo, who producers for that show did way better than what we're seeing here on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. But I might rant about that further down. I just had to make sure that I got that point out so I didn't forget it. So we began the episode with a montage of the ladies and all their things that they're doing. That sounds crazy, but you get what I'm saying. All things that they're doing. We see Kenya and her beautiful daughter Brooklyn and them doing karate. We see Marlo on the phone with Scott Lee talking about some lamb chops. We see Drew. We see Blaze getting her teeth brushed and swallowing the toothpaste. Blaze, baby, I need you not to do that, honey. And, just a montage of what the ladies are doing. Drew and her sister are looking for a place to do this healing retreat. And Drew brings up how she didn't realize it until now that her and her sister have had, some more talks, that some of her mental problems started after her divorce. And knowing this, Drew is trying to keep herself in a good space, which makes me feel like at the time that Drew did that confessional and made that statement, the divorce stuff was already happening with her and Ralph. We see that the place looks nice, and one of the things that's said by one of the, I don't remember if it was a clinician or just a regular staff member, but they recommended that there would be no alcohol during the retreat, which makes sense because alcohol puts you in an altered space. And the whole point of something like that is for you to be in your most clear, level-headed space. And some people may disagree, but alcohol to me inebriates you. So you may not be in the clearest of spaces if you're strongly under the influence. The point of the retreat is for you to deal with your emotions and to be level-headed. We then see, I always say her name wrong, y'all. I'm so sorry. We see Sonia, and she is thanking Ross for her Rolex that he got her just because Rolex, as well as revealing to him that she's pregnant. She gives him something saying, we got to look over all this stuff, and in it is a positive pregnancy test. And at first, you can tell he wasn't sure if she was playing or if it was real, and she lets him know it's real, and he seems really happy. They later reveal to the family via sweatshirts that they're pregnant. It says, we're pregnant, but the way that they stood when they turned around, it was the wrong way, so it said pregnant we're. And at first, the sister noticed it right away and got excited. The father then got excited and said, nobody told you, but they're telling you now, which is why they're showing you the shirts. And her mother did not get it. She was completely oblivious until they swapped and stood in the right way. It was a cute scene. Her sister then immediately lets it be known, this is great. We're happy for you. But we also want to let you know that we're definitely, going to be moving out. We found an apartment complex, and we decided that, we won't stay in the same apartment, but basically that her mother and her sister are going to be in the same building. So that was cute. They tell Deuce about the baby, and he wants to know when the baby's gonna be here. It was a cute scene. We then see Ralph and Drew go on yet another problematic date. They seem to be happy bowling, but it goes away quickly. Drew starts talking about all the changes that she has going on as far as work and the things of the ladies and her sister and all that. And Ralph asks if she's okay. We find out from Drew that she's really not okay. And one of the things that bothers her is that Ralph stopped doing counseling because he doesn't like being called out by Dr. Ken on his crap. Ralph then begins to talk in circles about why he's not doing counseling. He brings to her the point that despite him stopping, that he hasn't had as many blow-ups as he did before. Drew laughs at what he's saying, and he's basically like, it's not funny. What I'm saying is very intellectual. Like, trying to allude to the reason why Drew's laughing is because she doesn't get what he's saying, which is part of what Dr. Ken was saying before about how he plays in her face. Drew says that she isn't going to mother him, and she wants him to show up, especially with this movie that she's about to do for Todd. Ralph says that he'll try to step up as much as he can. That, Drew, you're booked and busy now, but I've been busy. I don't understand how, as a husband, you can shade her so much. And she may not have been what you deemed as busy, but we're not going to sit here and act like Drew hasn't worked in the past, like she hasn't been an actress, like she hasn't been adding to the income of that household. That's really trash. Ralph will find any way to demean his wife. Ralph says that he's going to do his best to try to help during those 10 whole days. And Drew brings up the fact that, Todd does it with Daddy Daycare, and he said he's not Todd, that he travels way more than Todd. But we don't even know what Ralph does. And I don't understand why it's a problem to take care of your kids. Single parents do it all the time. 10 days shouldn't have been that big of a deal. And more than likely, her sister, her mother, a nanny, somebody could have aided if it really was that hard on him. We then see Shamia and Candy meet up at Kenya's, where they talk again about these embryos. Apparently, there's a lot of friendships that have developed off camera that we haven't been privy to, which is another example of a Bravo dropping the ball with this production team, because at one point, Shamia and Kenya didn't really see it for each other. I remember some of the shady moments, and it seems like now their friendship has evolved. I don't know what's brought them closer together, but it's nice to see, because even on social media, you'll see that they all hang out from time to time. Kenya lets us know that the eggs that they're not just eggs now, they're embryos, are still in the freezer, which is Kenya's egg and Mark's semen. And that as part of the contract that they did at the time when they were having, I guess, the retrieval and the implantation and all these other things, one of the things that they discussed was that somebody had to take possession of those embryos, and Kenya at the time signed, so basically they're hers. Candy said that she's concerned because knowing that Kenya's talking about using those embryos means that Mark is the father. I'm gonna be honest, I still have mixed feelings about this, because I understand that Kenya wants to use the embryos that she currently has because, number one, they're embryos. Number two, she doesn't know whether or not her body can go through that process again of retrieval. I've seen several stories about this, and it's not always easy. Like, sometimes you may have a bunch of eggs and none of them have successful implantation as far as the sperm being added to the egg. So you don't always have embryos created. And even with that, the embryos may be implanted and they still might not be viable and turn into an actual fetus. So there's a lot that goes along with it. And I guess because of her health and everything else, she wants to do that. But I'm with Kandi. Like, it's really concerning that that's what you want to do. We find out that Shamia ended up using Kandi's surrogate, the one that she had for Blaze, and she's asking them, Kenya's asking them advice about it and how that all goes, and she's worried that she won't be bonded with the baby and all these things. And Kandi is like reassuring her, like, look, if you do decide to go the surrogate route, the hospital does things to make sure that you have your time. They do skin to skin, you get your own room, like, you will connect with your child despite not carrying your child. She's asked whether or not she's going to tell Mark about wanting to use the embryos, and she said if she decides to, she will let him know. And I think that's nice and everything, but at this point, Mark has caused enough problems in your life. I wouldn't tell him anything. It's already said that it's yours, so it is what it is. Shamia then wants to have like a catch-up thing, and she asks about Martell and Sheree. We find out that Sheree had a birthday dinner that Kandi was not invited to. And at some point, Martell wanted the ladies that were at the dinner to cash app him to help assist in paying the $1,500 bill. So this is your man, according to you on this show, and your man wanted help paying the bill for your birthday dinner. Now, am I going to sit here and say that I would expect my man to pay a $1,500 bill? No, I would not, because that's not the life that I live. That if he's paying for a bill for me, it's for me. I don't expect him to pay for my friends, but I don't live in the world that these ladies live in. But the fact that he was asking her friends to contribute to the bill, it's a little tacky. We then see this dumb scene with Sheree and her dog, Gotti, because Sheree doesn't have much more to film. And we find out that Gotti is a great partner like Martell. This is out of Sheree's mouth. I'm not making this up. She said he's a great partner like Martell. What a comparison. She said that it meant a lot to her that he came for her birthday dinner because they've both been swamped with their work schedules. And I don't understand what work schedule Martell has unless you're talking about filming, because that's the only thing that he has. The supposed wine that he has, he doesn't promote it. I haven't heard anybody say anything about it. So I guess their filming schedules conflict with each other. Production asked her what Martell got her. She said he got her an Alexander McQueen bag, and I don't really believe it because she really hesitated to say that he got it. So did he get you an Alexander McQueen bag? Did he get you a bag and you just added Alexander McQueen to it? Or is it true where he really doesn't like to spend high-end things? Because she said he doesn't really like to buy higher-end things. And I said to myself, because he can't afford it. He has 5 kids and no real job except for the filming that he does. And I don't know how much he gets, but I know it's not Bravo money. We then see everybody getting ready for the table read for Todd's movie. And Drew says that despite not getting an apology from Kandi, she came. It's very awkward. You can feel the awkwardness of it all, but they're both professional. In confessionals, Kandi said that Todd really needs this movie to happen for himself because at this point her career has been a priority. I didn't like her saying that. I get what she was saying, but the way that she said it, because before he was talking about how his priority is Blaze and the movie, and Kandi was like, really? Like, he said, well, it sounds good. So like, I just felt like it kind of made it seem like, we know Todd does a lot, but I feel like sometimes Kandi really minimizes his role and how much he really supports her, because Todd had his own thing going on before he met Kandi. Now, did he have Kandi money? No. but he was his own person prior to that. We see that the reading goes well. Todd at the end gives a disclaimer that we got a tight filming schedule and I need you all to be on time because it's going to cost me money. He also lets it be known that despite what people may believe, that this doesn't have anything, the movie doesn't have anything to do with them. We then are at the mental health retreat. And I immediately said, this looks like what Sheree was trying to accomplish in Portugal. Everyone arrives, husbands included, some of their other friends, even Cynthia. I was happy to see Cynthia there. Drew and Ralph have this really weird exchange. He walked in and Drew apparently said she didn't notice him, but him and Ross were standing right beside one another, and she greeted Ross and hugged him while he was like coming towards her to hug her, and then he then proceeded to hug everyone else but Drew, and it came off as really passive aggressive to me. They then hug, they kiss. It seems weird. We meet Dr. May, who we find out has been working with Allison. Allison then gives her testimony about what she's been through, and she said that basically because of her panic attacks and her anxiety and all these things, that she called 911 so many different times that they ended up putting her in a psychiatric hospital, that she was there for 19 days. She talks about how important, mental health is, and how she just wants this to be a time where they all can, see some of the things that she has used to help her, as well as address whatever issues that they may have. Drop It With Drew begins, where they're doing fitness stuff, and Marlo shares that she went to the website and the website doesn't work. So do we even know if Drop It With Drew works? And I just want to know, like, Marlo, what are you doing? You have so much to say about what's not working for Drew, but we still don't really know what you do. Because your thrift store, used consignment shop, we don't really see you filming in there a lot. So what's going on with that? The ladies go into a meditation studio. Sheree is saying that this is exactly like what she was doing in Portugal, and she's so happy that she inspired Drew. No, Sheree, what you were doing was being messy, and you were trying to add the fact that this was your healing thing and doing one healing event to make it seem like, you were doing something. Marlo didn't want to breathe in and out because she said that the room stinked, or the ladies stink from the exercising, but it just smelt in there. We see Candy, who is a little teary-eyed, and she said that she needed this release. That between the problems that she's having in her group and the fractured relationships that she has with some of her friends, that she needed this woosah moment, which goes back to what I said in the beginning. For those of you who did not watch the Escape and SWV show, there was a lot of stuff revealed on that show. And to see how it played out on the internet, and to know that Bravo did not take any time to film any of that, to not take time to go to these concerts with her and just her two other members performing, to not show her behind the scenes going to these radio stations and filming. Like, do you not like her? Because I don't understand why you would miss out on these pivotal moments. It just seems like the ball continues to be dropped on so many avenues. We see Ross asks Ralph about how court went, and we get no true conclusion. Sheree then is sitting at the table with the ladies, and she asks the same question. And we find out that it's going to be 30 days until a decision is made because they countersued. So supposedly the story that we're getting from both Ralph and Drew was that the lady cooked, they found hair in the food, and because of that, they then decided to try to use her as a nanny. And to me, that makes no sense. Because if she cooked and you found hair in the food, why would you then want her to be a nanny? She failed already. And don't nannies cook? I just don't quite understand why you would have her go from one thing to the next if she wasn't successful. She talks about how it originally started at $1,000 and now it's $10,000 that she's suing for, even though the documentation says $1,000. Kandi brings up how with Drew, she tells so much different stories that you just don't know what's what. We then get to talking about Martell again and how Sheree did not invite Kandi to her birthday dinner, but she invited her clique and Cynthia. And Sheree said a whole spill about how she invited people that she's known for over 30 years. But you invited people who you haven't known for 30 years as well. So you inviting really, really close friends and all that, like that was a smokescreen. You didn't invite Kandi. Sheree said that if Kandi didn't even show up at the group events, why would she want to invite her to her event? She's probably not going to show up for that. And Kandi, I need you to see the bigger picture. Because to me, this is an example of Sheree icing you out. Because why wouldn't she try to invite you to that? It's not like you haven't come to anything. So don't make it seem like, oh, I didn't invite Kandi because she's not going to come, when we've seen her show up at several things. Her missing a few events does not equate to she's not going to show up for anything. So I looked at that as something completely different. Cynthia then is showing why she needs to be back, even if it's as a friend of the show, because Cynthia perfectly constructs this conversation and acts as the middleman and says, so basically you're saying that you didn't invite Kandi, and Kandi, you're saying that you would have liked to get an invitation from Sheree to at least determine whether or not you would come. And Kandi said, yeah, because Candy's like, I was sitting at home, I could have came. Cynthia brings up that there's a clear division of the group. Some kind of way we get to Moneta revealing that Courtney called her cousin, that in-law, because now she's adding the in-law part, a B. And she says that she didn't call her that. And I don't care what context it was used in, you did call her that. The camera even goes back to you saying this be this and this be that, and she did it. So we're not going to do that. What I've realized about Courtney is Courtney lies. Courtney will stand on certain things, but she will lie about others or rephrase how she says something. You called the girl a B. And if you didn't remember, you didn't remember. But you stand so firm on you not saying things that we have seen that you said, like the whole ghetto thing. Yes, I'm going back to that. That it makes me wonder if you truly are oblivious to the fact that you said it, or if you're just lying. She even then says that she doesn't even talk like that. She doesn't use that word, while she proceeds to say the word in a sentence. And Moneta calls her out on it and says, you just said it. Just then you used the word. We then see the ladies go outside, take a picture. It's a whole bunch of confusion. Take this picture. Sonia has her shirt open where it says that I'm pregnant. She then's like, I got to send y'all a picture. I got to send you a picture. Some of the girls can't see it. Some girls can't. A long story short, they finally notice that it says I'm pregnant. They get excited. All the girls are happy for her. I wish that she would have picked a different time to do it, because this was kind of Drew and her sister's thing, but I'm not going to get on her for that. Babies are blessings. We then come back from commercial break and we see Drew talking to Dr. Ken, and we find out that since the bowling date that Ralph has moved out of the bedroom. Once again, I don't understand why he does this. And I don't understand what we aren't being told, because how did that little disagreement, discussion, argument, whatever we saw at the bowling alley equate to him moving out of the bedroom? Dr. Ken says, at this point, you've been in counseling with me for 13 months. What were or are the issues? And she talks about infidelity, trust, transparency are all still some of their issues. Dr. Ken is talking to her about how things have changed with her, and she basically says that there's things that she sees now that she didn't see before. And he says, so you basically woke up and he can't gaslight you anymore. He said no one can gaslight you anymore, but he's talking about Ralph, because that was one of the things that Ralph did. Drew says that she doesn't feel like he's emotionally aware. And she talks about all these other things, and she's crying a little bit. And Dr. Ken basically says that her relationship to herself is most important above anything else. And he wants to know, when will she know enough is enough? I think we're going to see how this enough is enough thing plays out. I have mixed feelings about Drew and Ralph. I do feel like they've had problems for a while now. I also feel like I'm not a person to talk about marriage and tell anyone else that they need to not be married anymore. But it's clear that the dynamic that they have is not healthy. And that Drew, if you're not careful and if you don't continue to talk to someone like Dr. Ken, it may turn out, poorly for you. So I'm interested in seeing how this all turns out. You guys, this episode overall, it was okay. It wasn't terribly bad. I didn't have to watch it as many times to figure out what was going on, like how I did some of the previous episodes. So let me know your thoughts. Y'all, where do you think this is going? Like, how many more episodes do we even have? Because this was episode 14, and I just feel like nothing major has happened. It hasn't really gotten good to me yet. The biggest thing that I enjoyed was Kandi going off on Courtney. And I mean, Marlo fussed in Kenya in the hotel. Like, what is the reunion about to be about? Because the show's not giving. As I said last time, production needs to do better. Until next time.